Hi friends, welcome back. Today I want to give you a little relationship advice that I know will help improve your relationships. Now guys, I'm not a relationship expert, but I have made a lot of mistakes in relationships. And so I feel like that qualifies me to at least talk about what not to do in relationships. No, but seriously, when you make a mistake in a relationship, it can be very costly. And so I just want to make this video because I really believe it's going to help you, like this realization helped me, even though it's so simplistic. But you know, I found that most of the time it's the simple answers that are the best, right? So again, making mistakes, it's a difficult way to learn. It's better to learn through mentorship and other people's mistakes. But when you do make a mistake, it tends to be a very impactful lesson, one that you do not forget, right? And I have to admit that this took me a long time to learn because I was a bit toxic in a lot of my relationships before I actually really realized it. But anyway, guys, let's get right into it. Oh, and also at the end, I want to tell you about how you may get warnings in your dreams about relationship problems. Because I really do believe that relationships are it's like the stuff of life. It's the best part of life for those relationships, and we want to keep them, whole and nurturing and good. And I feel like God really wants that for us. And so when there is a problem in a relationship, He will often give us a warning when we are in danger of wrecking a relationship. So at the end of the video, I'll talk about how that might look in a dream, because I know I've been warned in the past about things that I was doing that were wrong in my relationships. I think my point is best illustrated with this little story. I normally go to work. I drive into work, but then when I leave, I take a different road and I go up this real pretty road that goes up a hill and then gets on the freeway to come home. So the other day I was going to work and I actually exited a bit early to get some Starbucks, and I took in a back way and I ended up finding myself on that road. But this time I was going in the opposite direction. And instead of going up the hill, I was going down the hill. And I was just really kind of lost a little bit. Like the road looked so different from that perspective that I even missed my turn. And I was sort of taken back by how different the road looked by simply driving the opposite way. Of course, I'm not that familiar with that part of town. It's a new job for me, so I'm still getting to know it. And as this was happening and I was having this realization, wow, this is so different. This looks so different. I felt like the Lord was kind of speaking to me and said, this is the key to relationships, is understanding the other person's perspective. When we're in a relationship, we tend to fixate on how we see things, and we see it a very particular way, and we tend to not step out and really see it from their perspective and how different it may look to them. We always want to keep the other person's perspective in mind, and how are they seeing things that are happening between us. Because now I know we hear a lot about empathy, and it just seems like, oh man, that's so simple. Of course you should be empathetic. But the fact of the matter is, I believe it's not that easy to be empathetic, because we get so fixated on our perception and how we see it that we really don't step out and try to see it from the other person's perspective. And that is just because when you're in a relationship, you tend to get so fixated on how it affects you and how it made you feel, and whatever wrong you think you may be, suffering, that you forget what that other person is feeling, and that they may be fixated on totally different issues that are also very real from their point of view. And so you know, when you realize these things, it has a huge impact on your relationships, because you realize that your actions, you have to think about how they are being perceived. So maybe you're just annoyed, and so you have this tone of voice of annoyance. Well, how do they perceive that? It may seem, like it's no big deal to you, but you're just expressing, your feelings, whatever. It's not a big deal. But to them, it may be very insulting. It may come off very rude and disrespectful, and it may feel really bad to them. There's a lot of times where just like that disappointment and being on the receiving end of someone's anger and criticism, it's so painful, because you think like, man, this person, I thought this person loved me, and now they are attacking me. You feel attacked. Now, I have often been the person attacking, but I don't know. I just feel like I've been in situations where now I've been criticized, and I can identify with that other side and how your actions may be misinterpreted. We hear a lot about being empathetic and about empathy. Oh, you should just be empathetic. Most people that I see really could use some help in this department, because even though they're kind people, they're compassionate, they're not very empathetic as far as being able to step out of their point of view and relating to your point of view. I mean, I just think it's really a minority of people that really are able to do that, but that the more we do it, the better our relationships will be, because we tend to think solely from our perspective. And even when we do try to empathize with other people, it's so limited to what we allow ourselves to empathize with. Like, we only empathize with the parts we want to empathize with. Do you know what I'm saying? So, but when you really care about someone, you care about a relationship, or like the more we care about someone, the more we should be willing to really try to understand their perspective. So anyway, guys, I just don't think that the art of seeing things from other people's perspective comes that easily to most of us. I think most people are so fixated on how they see things that it's difficult actually to step out and to see things from a completely different perspective. But the more we can do that, the more we will temper our words and actions and think about the impact on that other person, right? And the better relationships we'll have. And I wish I had learned that earlier in life. It did take me a long time, and I'm still working on it, because I can be rather reactionary, and I've had to really stop. I think it's just my temperament, maybe my type A personality. I don't know. Thank God that, we do mature, and we can we can mellow a little bit with time, and we can be more reflective. But if you can learn that when you're younger, I guarantee you're going to be so happy to not isolate people that you love, because it just can take years to rebuild trust, and if ever, because sometimes it's just irreparable damage that is done to relationships. And of course, if that's the case, then we just pray and ask God to restore, because He does do miracles, right? But anyway, I wanted to talk to you about how this can manifest in your dreams, because I believe that relationships are they're just so important to our happiness in this life. And God wants us to have good relationships, good godly relationships. So He will often give us warnings in dreams when we are messing up. So, or when there's just a problem. A warning you may get in a dream would be like destruction, like a building, a house that is destroyed, partially destroyed, because again, the anger, the criticism, it's so destructive. And the house, the building in the dream can often represent a relationship. I know I made a video about a house representing your life, and I can link it, but a lot of times it represents a relationship in your life as well. And you may dream that there are, that there's a fire, that it's been destroyed, that there's flooding, whatever. It can symbolize destruction, toxicity in a relationship that needs to be addressed. Another thing might be to dream about like car wrecks, some kind of wrecks, airplane crashes, you know what I mean? Those often symbolize problems in relationships. I know I had this one dream once when I was in a relationship, and it was like my boyfriend at the time. I had a dream that, I don't know, we were being close, we were like kissing or something, and all of a sudden he just like vomited on me. And I was a disturbing dream, and I was like, why did that happen? Well, it took me a long time to figure it out, but I believe it was God showing me that he was really disgusted with my behavior. I was just being insufferable and just difficult and just really making things hard, and when we do that in relationships, it's such a turnoff. It's like, when we're too needy and we want people to just fix us, and we put too much on people, because remember, everyone's dealing with their own issues and their own stressors and jobs, and sometimes they really love you and they want to be there for you and they want to help you, but it's just draining, and we cannot be that negative force in someone's life. I don't want to be that in anyone's life. I want to be an uplifting force. And it's just regrettable, honestly, that I feel like I have been draining on my friendships and at times, and I want to learn from that and not be that way anymore. So guys, I hope that you can, if you recognize these things in yourself, that you've been like that. I mean, I feel like probably we all have a time or two, that you could say, okay, no, I'm going to, depend on God for my needs, my ultimate needs of happiness, and communicate clearly without vitriol what I expect in a relationship, right? So anyway, guys, I hope that's helped. I know it's made a big difference in my life, and going forward, I just hope to have positive, genuine friendships where there's mutual respect. So I feel like I learned this late in life, but like they say, better late than never. Until next time, thanks for watching.